Midweek Pictorial, March 25, 1920. Signpost at Doorn, the little Dutch village 11 miles from Utrecht, Holland, which is to be the future place of residence of the Ex-Kaiser, and which just now has special interest. Little island of Villingen, in the Zuiderzee, temporary home of the German ex-crown prince. It was reported March 17th that a Dutch torpedo boat had entered the harbor to guard it. 12-foot fence with barbed wire top placed about Amerongen Castle to protect Wilhelm's privacy. Present residence of ex-crown prince at Villingen. Curtains drawn to thwart the curiosity or enterprise of photographers make it look deserted. Wood cut by ex-Kaiser at Amerongen. He has sawed up 16,000 trees. Iron fencing placed about the ex-Kaiser's new estate at Doorn, Holland, to preserve the owner from intrusion by the curious. Last Germans to leave Danzig when by the terms of the peace treaty they were compelled to evacuate the city, which they did most reluctantly. In view of the imminent possibility of a clash between the Germans and Poles when the former were required to evacuate, French troops were sent to maintain order. They are here being reviewed by Generals Dupont and Hacking. Monument of Kaiser Wilhelm I, where the German troops made a great demonstration just before they were compelled to leave the city. Before the demonstration ended, the statue was fairly buried in flowers. Map of Germany showing how the various districts were affected by the sudden revolt in Berlin that, temporarily at least, drove the established Ebert government from the capital. The south in general stood by Ebert, while the northern section rather inclined toward the new regime. The first photograph that the president has permitted to be taken of him since his illness began was secured March 17th and is reproduced above. He wore a golf cap and was seated beside Mrs. Wilson. In Transylvania, it is the custom for marriageable girls to carry their dowries on their chests. Prospective swains can tell without asking just how much money the girl can bring to the new household by simply calculating the value of the coins that stud the breastplate. An almost miraculous escape was recorded when Tom Mix, one of the drivers in an auto race recently held at Santa Monica, California, was circling the track at a terrific rate of speed and his machine overturned. The spectators were horrified, as they thought that a tragedy had happened. But with the laconic remark, "narrow escape," the driver crawled from beneath the car uninjured. Dangerous ice jams on the Susquehanna, near Port Deposit, Maryland, that was only broken after Army aviators for 2 days had rained bombs upon it. It took 4 heavy bombing planes dropping 500-pound TNT torpedoes to break the barricade and start the ice moving. The opening of the channel averted the danger of a freshet following a thaw. The American bluejackets of the Atlantic Fleet, which has been on a prolonged cruise in southern waters, find that life is not a perpetual grind. Some of them are here seen on leave, and starting out for a ride in one of the quaint mule-drawn streetcars which form the chief means of conveyance in Bridgetown, Barbados, British West Indies. This lady of color is not troubled by prohibition laws in Bridgetown, British West Indies. She is really a perambulating bar, and the way she serves beer to thirsty clients, among whom many sailors of the Atlantic Fleet are included, is shown in the picture. She rinses the glasses in the pail of water on her arm. Railroad station at Batignolles, France, guarded by soldiers during the Great Strike that threatened to paralyze France and cause the overthrow of the Mitterrand cabinet. The government ran many of the trains through former employees called back into military service. When the railway strike went into effect, hundreds of thousands of commuters to towns adjoining Paris were compelled to use the suburban trolley cars. Some are here seen besieging the cars, which could only accommodate a fraction of those who wished to ride. Monsieur Chavreau, secretary of one of the railway unions, addressing strikers at Vincennes. The weakness of the strike lay in the fact that only 50% quit work. Ticket windows closed in the empty station of the Lyon station in Paris at the height of the strike. The strike, which was finally called off at midnight of March 1st after running less than 2 weeks, was a failure largely because it was dictated by political motives and did not have the sympathy or support of the great body of workmen. The government broke the strike by calling former railway workers into military service. Irish horse at Rathfarnham, Ireland being broken in. He has almost cleared the shafts, but is effectively held in check by ropes about his legs. His knees are padded to prevent injury. Sports at Eton, the famous English school for boys. A steeplechase is in progress, and the boys have nearly completed passage of water hazard. Photograph of Joe White, University of Pennsylvania rowing coach, showing a member of his crew his faults before a mirror, where the rower can see for himself how well he is profiting by the lesson. First girl conductor on a bus line that has been established in Tokyo, Japan. The service went into force on the 2nd of February 1920. Lucia and Simplicio Godeno, little Filipino twins whose bodies are united at the sides. They are healthy and vigorous boys, perfectly normal in other respects. They live in Washington with their guardian, Commissioner Yaugco of the Philippine Islands. Surgeons at Johns Hopkins say that the twins could be separated without danger, but no operation has been yet performed. New electrocution chamber at Sing Sing prison. At right is door where condemned man enters. In back, at left of death chair, is place where electrician stands to throw on the switch. The Flying Fish, a 12-passenger hydroplane operated between Palm Beach and points in the West Indies. Its decoration is bizarre, and it never lacks passengers. A similar type was on exhibition at the New York Aeronautical Show. Seen outside the House of Commons as Mr. Asquith entered to take his seat as member from Paisley. He was tendered a remarkable reception by throngs that crowded about him and cheered him wildly. Over-enthusiastic partisans almost mobbed the carriage of Mr. Asquith, and one is here seen being chased over the top of the car. Mr. Asquith reading congratulatory messages at home. He had just returned after his great victory at Paisley, Scotland, which was announced on February 28th. At Euston Station, he had received a tumultuous welcome from a large gathering, and the welcome continued all along the route to his house in Cavendish Square. The way Mr. Asquith's car looked on the morning following the remarkable ovation accorded to him on his return to the House of Commons. Even affection and admiration may be embarrassing at times, as is shown by the dilapidated condition of the machine rushed by his friends. It was estimated that $500 would be required for repairs. The new republics created in Europe have fallen heir to a multitude of problems, chiefly of food, fuel, and reconstruction. Of them all, Poland and Czechoslovakia are perhaps the more fortunately situated, because their natural resources are great. Our pictures show interesting events in both republics. Posen, which is naturally and predominantly Polish, was recovered by the Poles early in 1919, and the first anniversary of the city's liberation from German rule was celebrated recently with both Paderewski and Pilsudski in attendance. No less enthusiasm was manifested in Prague when the blood of the populace was stirred by the return of veterans who had won glory on Siberian fields. Photo caption: President Masaryk of the new Republic of Czechoslovakia kissing the colors of a regiment of veterans just returned to Prague after 5 years of service in Siberia. The city turned out en masse on that occasion. Paderewski speaking in Posen on anniversary of liberation of city from German rule. General Pilsudski, President of the new Polish Republic, in Posen on the occasion of the first anniversary of the city's change of rulers. Welcome home parade of Czechoslovak veterans who had fought gallantly for 5 years in Siberia. Rain fell in torrents, but a welcome was extended by tremendous crowds of citizens. St. Patrick's Day Parade, New York, March 17, 1920. One of the striking features of the parade was a number of boys wearing costumes of all the ancient Gaelic clans. Reviewing stand in front of St. Patrick's Cathedral, where city and state officials watched the 25,000 marchers in the St. Patrick's Day Parade go by. On the stand, left to right, are Judge Mulqueen, Mayor Hylan, Eamon de Valera, head of the Irish Republic movement, and Governor Smith. Thousands of children in gala dress walked in the parade and formed one of its most picturesque and attractive elements. They carried Irish flags, and in many cases, Irish colors were sewn on their garments. The dendrograph, an invention which, placed around a tree, registers its rate of growth. Growth is recorded on a circular drum,